son. He doesn't see his brother anymore for all these years.
Chapter 9. The End of an Era. Hen Dog was a hustler from the Bronx.
Henry, aka Hen Dog, one of the flyest motherfuckers I ever knew.
He also hustled on 112th Street.
Henry was down with Ace and them. He was just a good dude.
Big Deb was a hustler from Madison Avenue. Fritz was supposedly supplying both Hen Dog and Big Deb with cocaine. On August 16, 1991, Fritz passed away following an illness. Two days later, T gave birth to a baby girl. After Fritz died, another individual took control of his operation. This individual refused to do business with Hen, Deb, and T. The trio decided to join forces and do their own thing. Unfortunately, in 1992, Hen Dog was shot and killed. T was deeply saddened by his death. Things went from bad to worse. Big Deb got caught up in a federal case. Ace's trial started in early 1992.
I just didn't think that they would convict him based on the word of a crackhead.
He was ultimately found guilty for a murder he didn't commit. The judge sentenced him to 20 years to life. T still loved Ace, but ultimately she moved on with her life.
August 1991, Fritz passes away. August 18th, I'm in a hospital giving birth to my daughter. At this point in time, everybody was on their way down south to Fritz's funeral. That broke my heart. It broke Ace's heart. But then I'm like, okay, Fritz, they know what he was doing for me. Ace is his man. The show must go on as far as me being taken care of. So I had a dude from 12th Street who was in charge, and he sent someone to tell me that he wasn't paying my bills no more. So I go uptown. I go to Leon. I want this nigga dead. He's disrespecting me. Leon goes, hold on, T. We about to get work from him. So I'm looking like, you about to get work from him. He's shitting on me. Big Deb comes to me, he's shitting on her. Henry comes to me, he's shitting on him. So we all fucked up. He's just messing up the family, not taking care of the family, not being loyal in no way. So me, Deb, and Hen got to do other things to get our hustle on to continue doing what we need to do and make money. But in 1992, I think it was around June, Ace was convicted and sentenced to 20 to life. At 22 years old, I didn't know what to do. I was a young mother, so immediately we jumped on paying one of the lawyers to do the appeal. We had already spent about $65,000 on the trial. The appeal was another $25,000. We immediately gave Levine $25,000 cash. We also paid for a private investigator. So we thinking, we pay this money, Levine could jump on it, and get this appeal going to get Ace up out of there. Eventually, that never happened, but, being young, I just had to get on my job and figure out how we was going to do some things, how we was going to keep getting money, how was I going to survive. After the conviction, I had these 2 apartments, so I ended up having to downsize. That same year, me, Hen Dog, and Big Deb, we were doing some things. I was going to do something with her. Big Deb was like the coolest chick. She was her own boss, but of course, she was part of the family, just like with Henry, with Fritz. She was definitely that chick about her business. She was also cool with Rich Port and AZ and them, because a lot of times I will always see her up on 7th Avenue and 132nd Street as well. So yeah, Big D in the book is really Big Deb, and Hen is Henry. I didn't change his name. And one thing I could say about Hen Dog, he always kept it 1,000. He was always there with me. He made sure I was all right. I spoke to him every other day, if not every day. And then in 1992, I believe it was around the summertime, I get the news that he was shot and killed in the Bronx. My heart was so broken. My world was just crashing. Fritz dying. Chuck got killed. He was a part of the crew. Ace getting convicted. Hen getting killed. It was just so much going on. And at 22 years old, I just didn't know what to do. It was just too much on a young female to have to take on, as well as trying to run her man's drug operation, collect money from dudes in the street who now was playing games because Ace locked up, Fritz is dead, Henry is dead, and Hen was the only one that was trying to get the money from everybody and making sure me and my baby was okay. So I just ended up, I moved on with my life, but I was always there for Ace no matter what.
Chapter 10, Baby J. Mayne grew up in the Abraham Lincoln houses. The Abraham Lincoln Houses is a public housing complex in East Harlem. Mayne started hustling at an early age. In the mid-'80s, a guy named Hector introduced him to the drug game. Hector had a spot on 131st Street, Madison Avenue in Harlem. Hector was associated with a Puerto Rican crack kingpin named Daddy. Daddy was getting money in Harlem and then later in D.C. with Hector and Boogie. Boogie is Mayne's older cousin. Mayne and his crew hustled back and forth between New York and D.C. In 1988, Hector was shot and killed in Washington, D.C. A few years later, Daddy was also shot and killed in Washington, D.C. Mayne was said to be deeply saddened by the loss of his friends. T first met Mayne in 1987. Mayne was dating T's little sister. T would become like a sister to Mayne. Mayne also went by the name Baby J. From 1986 to 1997, Mayne was in and out of prison.
I was introduced to Jermaine, by my little sister. I guess they started dating at the time. Ever since then, he been in my life. Then we just became like a family. Him and his little crew, they were just the funniest little guys. And it was so crazy because they were like 14, 15, 16-year-olds, little gangsters and hustlers. They was definitely getting money. I remember them being out in DC because Jermaine and Mike Murder came under guys like Daddy and Hector. Daddy and Hector, both Spanish dudes, they were like big brothers, uncles, almost father-like to Baby J and Mike Murder. Mike Murder is Max B, the rapper's older brother. So, there were times where Maine would be out in DC. I remember my sister telling me sometimes the story when he used to be out in DC on a payphone. He would just be like, yo, hold on. I guess because he was out there on the corner hustling. She said they would be damn near falling asleep on the phone. But I guess he felt safe just being on the phone because I guess he was just out there doing whatever he was doing. Yeah, they were definitely doing their thing. I was kind of impressed to see little dudes like that hustling and getting money as opposed to, having older dudes who I was used to seeing doing it. But they would definitely, had their thing going on. And he did DC, he did Youngtowns, Ohio. Later on, he did Hagerstown, Maryland, and we were like a family, even after him and her broke up. We cared about each other. He was there for us. If I made one phone call to him about something, he came and he was going to take care of it. That's one thing I can say. Him and his little crew, they wasn't scared of nobody, wasn't scared to do anything. They was definitely going to handle their business. Our love was like really, really, thicker than blood.
Chapter 11, Death Around the Corner. 50 was a notorious figure from T's block on 134th Street.
50 was that dude from the block that wouldn't let nothing go down without him running him up out of there.
She'd known him since childhood.
Me and 50 go back to like kindergarten.
In July 1994, a man named Mike Wolf was shot dead in Harlem. He was allegedly affiliated to the lynch mob. A day later, T was walking home.
I was walking from the Jamaican restaurant with my cousin's little sister.
She saw 50 speaking to a group of men.
I looked up the block and I noticed it was 50 talking to some dudes from 140th Street.
T sensed something was wrong.
Now, I already knew right then and there, it was really no reason for 50 to be talking to them.
Seconds later, she heard gunshots and then saw 50 running towards her.
I heard shots. I turn around, I see 50 running towards me.
The gunman ran after him and started letting off more shots. The front of 50's shirt was stained with blood from a gunshot wound. T tried to run across the street to escape from the gunfire. But she was struck by a stray bullet.
As he ran towards me, all I could see was a red circle in the middle of his chest. The look on 50's face is a look that I will never forget, as if he was saying, damn. 50 always kept a gun on him, always. This particular time, I think he left it in the bodega on the corner. For some reason, I don't know why, if they approached him, he wouldn't have it on him, because he knew better than that. But as he ran towards me, I'm looking at him. There's a guy running behind him. They were running behind him. He was running towards me. I believe I yelled out one of the guys' name as if to say, yo, what y'all doing? Or just for them to stop. But as 50 got closer to me, I turned around to run across the street towards the downtown side of my block. And they were shooting at him again. I didn't feel a shot, but I fell to the ground. I looked up at my little cousin and she was standing there in shock. I got up once I saw 50 laying in front of me. And in my mind, the visions of bodies with white sheets ran through my mind that fast because it's something that I've seen so often. And I knew I just couldn't lay there. I said, my baby is upstairs. Her father is doing 20 years in prison. And I just said to myself, I can't leave my baby. I got up. It was a guy from my block that we called Monkey John. He was right there with me, thank God. And he got in the cab with me. So we telling the cab driver, hurry up, go to Harlem Hospital. I started to feel cold. For some reason, I knew inside something was going on because there was no blood outside. I didn't see anything. And I'm like, John, I feel cold. So we ended up getting to the emergency room. I guess he told them I was shot. They immediately tore my clothes off. The bullet went right through me and got stuck in like a little jacket vest that I had on. It was real thin, but it was stuck right there in the jacket. It went through my back, out my right breast. It punctured my lung. And the reason why I didn't see any blood because I was bleeding inside. Had I laid on the ground and waited for an ambulance, I would have smothered to death and died because my lungs were filling up with blood. 50 comes rolling in right next to me. They split his chest open and began to massage his heart. And I'm looking at 50. Come on, 50, come on, 50, come on, 50. And they just continuously trying to work on him to keep him alive. But like I said, when I saw him running towards me, most of the shots were in his chest. 50 ended up dying right there.
The shooters were allegedly associates of the lynch mob. After the shooting, Leon went to visit T at the hospital to apologize. In 1995, 10 members of the lynch mob were indicted under the Federal RICO Act. The defendants were charged with 15 murders and 9 attempted murders. "50" was one of the murder victims named in the indictment.
On TV, I saw the flares in the street, the yellow tape, the little markers. It was just crazy and surreal. Once again, just to sit there and watch this like this really happened. In the meantime, I'm telling the police and the people in the hospital not to put my name downstairs. That's me, thinking on my feet, being from the street. Maybe it was The Godfather where people run up in hospitals. I knew to say, do not put my name downstairs. I didn't want nobody to find me until I spoke to Leon and Lou. In the meantime, my sister goes uptown, runs in on a meeting with Leon, Lou, and some of the shooters, and she goes in. They had no idea that I got shot. She runs in there saying, yo, y'all shot T? Y'all going to jail. She was upset, understandably so, and they looking crazy in the face from what she told me. Lou comes out, puts his head down, looks in shock. Leon basically was like, what? T was out there? Yeah, so she going in. I believe it was late that night. A big heavy dude with a white hospital jacket on pushing a tray comes into my hospital room. And it's Leon. And I'm wondering, what the fuck? I mean, he could have just came up as a visitor. Why he dressed like he worked for the goddamn hospital? But then again, it made sense because it let me act like I work here. Don't let me act like someone else who may know something about what happened. It was just crazy. But I told him what happened. He was like, T, don't worry. I'm gonna take care of them and I'm gonna make sure they take care of you. Whatever that meant. But yeah, that was definitely an experience. And the way 50 went out, me and my girlfriends, we had ended up putting something together for him. I believe it was in 1995 because of the way that it went down. We had a guy named Estos who did some very, very nice paintings. We'd had him do a canvas painting of 50. It was so dope. And 24 years later, it looked like he just did that painting yesterday. That painting still looks good. And we just celebrated 50's life because the way he went out, it just didn't sit right with me. He didn't have a chance. It was unfair. It was like 4 or 5 against 1. And that's how I felt. 1994 and 95 is when the quote-unquote lynch mob members started to get arrested. On the indictment, along with 19 other murders or so, they got me down there on the indictment for attempted murder on me and about 4 other people, because that same day I got shot, 50 got shot, and maybe 2 other people got shot, but they got shot like in the ankle or the leg. Me and 50 had the worst hits. They ended up getting indicted, going to jail. They got the murder of 50, he's on indictment, attempted murder of me and the others, and some other people that were killed. While in the hospital, I ended up having to get 3 blood transfusions because I did lose a lot of blood. But Harlem saved my life. I will say that. Harlem saved my life. I mean, I wouldn't go to them for too much of nothing else, but I thank God that they saved my life. Life is so funny because when I got shot, one of my little sister friends was upstairs babysitting my daughter. And she said for some reason, my daughter started to cry and would not stop, as if she felt something. She said that baby was screaming. My baby felt something. But God is good. God is good.
Chapter 12. Money, Power, Respect. In 1997, Maine came home after serving a stint in jail. Upon release, he went straight back to dealing drugs. He put together a crew and took over the Lincoln projects. He quickly established himself as a major player in the Harlem drug scene. Rapper Mace had allegedly disrespected Maine on a song. Maine felt Mace was being disrespectful and wanted to have a conversation with him. Maine attempted to lure Mace into a confrontation. In 1998, he allegedly snatched a chain off Harlem World rapper Cardan.
There was an incident at the Gaucho's gym. He had just came out. He was going through a little blood phase, but he wasn't in a gang. He was like a one-man blood gang. So I got a call, and if I'm not mistaken, it was my friend Trail who called me and said, "Joe T, you need to come to the gym. Maine snatching chains. He acting up." So I gets to the gym, and he's standing in the middle of the floor. Red sweatpants on, white t-shirt, red bandana with some long braids. I'm like, "Yo, what you doing?" "Nah, T, fuck that. These niggas gonna respect me." He ended up snatching a chain of a young rapper that was down with Mace crew. The young rapper, his name was Cardan. He didn't have anything against Cardan. His issue was with Mace. And he wanted Mace to come and get the chain. Now, supposedly Mace and a female that Maine ended up having a daughter with were friends in the past. I don't know the extent of the relationship, but Maine felt like Mace was being disrespectful to his relationship. So he took the chain, and his thing was, I want Mace to come and get the chain so he could answer me for being disrespectful. He and I had a conversation, and his thing was, "Nah, T, these niggas gonna respect me. They gonna respect me like they respect Lou." Now, this was in the late 90s. Lou already done been locked up since 94. So I had to say, Okay, you want to be like Lou. Lou doing 30 years right now. Is that what you want? And like I told him, I'm not sure if that's what Lou will want for you, because Lou knew Jermaine from being around us, and I'm sure he probably would have schooled him on what he was doing. Shiny suit dude. I'm not gonna keep on going with this shiny suit dude. I'm talking about Mace. Mace got ran out of Harlem. That's it. Nobody need to wonder. Nobody need to ask nobody else any questions. It's coming from my mouth because it's a fact. He was scared. After he got that chain snatched from his artist, Cardan, we never saw Mace again, heard from him again, not even sure if he ever came back to New York.
In 1998, T started dating a drug dealer named Donald.
Donald was somebody I knew for a long time. I definitely loved him.
Donald wanted to get married, but T was unconvinced.
So, we had our little issues, him cheating.
She decided to end the relationship. Sadly, Donald later died after a battle with brain cancer.
He had a lump somewhere, and I think it went up to his brain. He ended up having brain cancer.
In 1999, T and Boogie started dating. Chapter 13, War in Harlem. Pop Lottie was a drug dealer from Harlem. Pop Lottie and his associate had an ongoing beef with Maine. Maine was rumored to have sliced Pop Lottie's face. Mace allegedly sought out protection from Pop Lottie and his associate. On February 1999, Pop Lottie shot Maine 5 times. Maine miraculously survived the shooting.
One night, Boogs called me and said, "Yo, T, come down to 115th Street and Lex." So when I get down there, a friend of theirs was down there huffing, puffing, almost throwing up. Some guys that was cool with Mace chased him. Now, I don't know if they wanted to kill him or it was a plan, knowing that he would go back uptown and get Maine and Boogs and everybody, period. Anyway, so we go back up to 5th Avenue, Lincoln Projects. We standing around. I happen to be on the side talking to a dude named Dee-Wee. But when I turned around and it was a short period, everybody was gone. So I jumped in my truck, went to my block, and in that little amount of time, it looked like Wild Wild West had just went crazy. All I saw was the Friends light blue CLK in the middle of the street. So I'm looking, I'm wondering where the hell everybody at. Then my cell phone rings. And when I pick it up, all I hear is moaning. But it's Jermaine. But I'm like, oh my God, is he somewhere dying? What the hell is going on? I then get a call from Boogs. They made it to Harlem Hospital. Jermaine was all right. The story was that they got to 8th Avenue. Maine standing in front of Pop Lottie. Boogs is arguing with the other dude. Now, while Boogs is arguing with the other dude, he not really paying too much attention, but all he see is fire come out the guy's pocket. He starts shooting through his coat. Then I guess Pop Lottie got nervous and just start letting off shots. 5 of them hit Jermaine, and then it just cleared out. But luckily, he made it to the hospital. He was okay. I'm glad Jermaine didn't die. And I wasn't mad at Pop either. I understand what happened and he was scared. All I know is that Boogie was gone and Maine was gone. After those 5 shots, I was like, oh my God, what have they done? Because he was just on a roll. He was singing that Tupac record. I was like, oh Lord, what's going to happen now?
In April 1999, Mace announced he was retiring from music. Mace moved to Atlanta while a war ensued between Pop Lottie and Maine. Maine was making obscene amounts of money selling heroin and cocaine. He was fast becoming one of Harlem's richest people. In 2000, Pop Lottie's associate was shot dead. It was rumored Maine allegedly paid someone to have him killed.
We never saw Mace again, heard from him again, not even sure if he ever came back to New York. But what he did was enlisted two guys from my block who kind of already had an issue with Maine. So it only made sense that he took these guys on and said, listen, I need your help. I'm just assuming this will happen because they seem to be going hard for him. So these two dudes, they had a little issue back and forth with Maine. One of them was a really, really good friend of mine. I loved him to death. Another one was a friend of mine, but me and him ain't really get along too well. We grew up together. But Pop Lottie, he was the funniest dude, but him and Jermaine had they beef. And, when it come to the streets, I kind of sort of had to pick a side. That's my little brother, that's my friend. And then he's over there with somebody else that I don't even get along with. It just seemed like it was just spiraling out of control. Mace left. He left a beef behind and didn't help but look out for nobody. He's a coward. He need to stop going on a Breakfast Club and radio shows or doing any type of interview saying he wasn't ran out of Harlem, because he was. And understandably, if you're not a shooter or about that life, you should run. If you out, you making records, you being disrespectful, then you're supposed to stay and stand up like a man. That's what you're supposed to do. He did not do that. He left a lot of bullshit back here in Harlem. And like I said in my book, it was a beef that spiraled out of control, and 6 people are dead today because that beef kind of went back and forth. I wish I could have intervened. The beef between Maine and the other guys continued. It was one guy in particular who I said I knew, I grew up with, but he and I wasn't close. We really wasn't friends. He was a thorough guy too from my block, and he was about his business as well. And I guess he just had a strong dislike for Maine. Something happened and someone from Maine's crew ended up getting shot in the arm. And I think that's when things kind of turned serious, because there were shootouts back and forth, but nobody really got hit, except for the time when Maine got shot 5 times. But when someone really close to Maine got hit, Maine felt like, okay, I gotta do something. Now, it's alleged that Maine put $15,000 on this guy's head. There was a guy that used to be on my block. He was not from my block. I knew him well. He and I were really cool. He was cool with the crew that Maine was against. Their own man took the bounty, and allegedly this guy lured the guy that Maine put the bounty on to the Bronx. I don't know where, if it was in a project building, I don't know where it was at. The play was that he was bringing a guy so they can kidnap Maine or maybe kill him or rob him or something like that. He had no idea that he was being lured to his own death. And I guess when he got there, he realized that he had been set up and his own man had did it. Now, I got calls the very next morning. We all heard that this particular dude got killed, and it was already in the streets the next day that allegedly Maine may have paid for it to be done. Me and my sister just couldn't believe what was going on and what was being said. Then I saw him walking around with this particular guy that took the bounty, and I was a little upset about that. And I'm telling him like the word on the street, what's going on. He's like, nah, sis, everything good. But I just was feeling very uneasy about it. This guy who got killed, he had people that loved him as well. It was said that, Maine was going to get it. And then I really, really feared for his life. I just knew that something bad was going to happen. But it just goes to show that there's definitely no loyalty, and money is the root to all evil. For your man to take the bounty and set you up for a few dollars, nobody can be trusted out here.
On June 23, 2000, Maine was shot and killed on 133rd and 5th Avenue.
When I got to 133rd and 5th Avenue, which was Maine's block that he grew up on, it was almost like everything stood still. Everybody was standing around, looking sad, in shock. And right then and there, I just couldn't believe it. I was just like, damn, they got my baby. Like, Jermaine died that night. And when I say I've never felt pain like that in my life, we were not blood relatives, but there was nothing that can describe us, our connection and our relationship. We were more than family. There was nothing I wouldn't do for him. There wasn't nothing that he wouldn't do for me. And his death literally almost killed me. I just didn't know what to do. I was walking the streets it was just something that I just could not handle. And again, like I said, the pain that I felt, I cannot imagine what his mother felt because she lost a child. I cannot imagine what she was feeling and his siblings. I lost weight. I cut all my hair off. It took me years to get over him, and I still miss him like it happened yesterday. It's been 18 years, and it doesn't hurt as much, but we will never forget him, and that's just how it is. Like, the love that we had it was undeniable. There are a lot of articles, and people was on radio, and people posting about what happened. For the record, Pop Lottie did not kill Jermaine. Like I said, it was the boogeyman, and we're gonna leave it like that.
A year later, Pop Lottie was shot and killed. In 2005, Lou Sims instructed T to leave New York for her own safety. T left New York and moved to Atlanta.
Now, it may have been a year or so after Maine was killed that I heard Pop Lottie was killed. I heard a little about what may have happened. I really don't know. It may have had something to do with Jermaine. I'm not sure. But yeah, he ended up being killed. Another mother was hurting because she lost a child. I was sad that had happened to him. I got a call from Lou, and Lou said, listen, I know you're upset. You got to get it together. He got some insight on some people saying that they were going to do something to me. So he said, I need you to get out of New York. I told them, nobody better not touch you or touch a hair on your head. He said, but T, I'm not there. I'm not there to protect you, so you need to get out of New York. That's how I got down to Atlanta. I just needed to move down to Atlanta, and this was like 2005, 5 years later after his death. I was still angry. In 2008 is when I had to get on my knees and forgive the person that killed him, because I was walking around mad and angry, and the person that killed him was going on living their life and probably happy that they accomplished what they wanted to do because maybe they were hurting. I started writing maybe 2005, 2006, and it was a form of therapy. It was therapeutic for me to get it out because I was holding so much in. And that's how Harlem Heron came about.
In 2004, Mace returned to the rap world. The murders of Maine and Pop Lottie still remain unsolved. Her name is Miss T, and she is the Harlem Heroine.
Now subscribe to my YouTube channel, Straight Talk with Miss T. It's going to be the same thing I gave you in my book, Straight Talk. We're going to have lots of fun. We're going to have some interviews. We're going to have some good conversation. Straight Talk with Miss T. My book, Harlem Heroin, can be found on Amazon, Kindle, The Nook, as well as iBooks. It can be purchased at www.missteebooks.net. That's www.msteebooks.net. My Instagram is Harlem Heroin or Heroin, Heroine.